So if it wasn't obvious by now, I am a libertarian. In 2012, I was a Ron Paul supporter. I am not a fan of the Libertarian Party. I'm not a fan of Gary Johnson. I'm not a fan of Joe Jorgensen, who were their last two nominees. I'm more of a fan of Austin Peterson, or even possibly, what's his name? John McAfee. But what is a libertarian? Generally, a libertarian is someone who believes that the government's job is to protect the rights of the individual. And based on the US Constitution, anything beyond that is government overreach. Now, libertarianism, by definition, is a right-wing ideology. But as I've explained several times before, nearly all government is left-wing. So right-wing is anarchy, left-wing is hierarchy. And so anarchy is no order, hierarchy is complete order. Hierarchy is totalitarianism. So generally, the center is a moving position that is, I guess you can call it sort of like the Overton window on the acceptable frame in the middle of society. So anarchy is an absolute that stays where it is, and absolute hierarchy is an absolute that stays where it is, and the center is a moving target that moves depending on where society is in the current day. Some people call this the Overton window. The Overton window is more about acceptable speech rather than acceptable thought. But, I'm using it as an example. Now, libertarianism, as I said, is a step away from anarchy. Now, I know what you're saying, but anarchy, don't socialists use anarchy? Aren't many socialists anarchists? Yes, you're right. They use anarchy, but they are not anarchists. There is a difference. Sort of like how America is a republic, not a democracy, but we use democratic methods for our people to tell our representatives how we want them to lead our country. We are not a democracy. We don't vote to enact actual change. We have our representatives who do that for us. We are a republic, not a democracy. As an anarchist, a social anarchist, or a communist will do the exact same thing. Even though they are not anarchists, they do not want a lack of order. They actually do want order. They just don't like the current order. So what they want to do is use anarchistic methods to destroy our current order. But they will eventually want to replace that order with their own order. So they are not anarchists. They are just using anarchy as a method to achieve their end goal. This is why someone like Lenin once said that the inevitable goal of socialism is communism. Communism is totalitarian. Communism is order. But they want to use the anarchistic tendencies of socialism to destroy the existing order of capitalism. But so, like I said, libertarian ideals are a step away from anarchy. So most libertarians will think, do whatever the hell you want, just leave me out of it. So you want to do drugs, you want to raise your kids as devil, Satanists, worship the devils, be nihilists, whatever, I don't care, just leave me out of it. And that is what most libertarians believe. The problem with this is when a libertarian has that ideals, they actually do the work of socialists. Because as I said, socialists want anarchy so that they can enact their ideals. And when a libertarian says, do whatever you want, just leave me out of it, they are firmly rejecting the ideas of the order of civilized society. And this comes from human nature. This comes from nature in general. Nature does not stem in entropy. Entropy is the idea. Is entropy? Am I thinking of the right word? Let me look up the word entropy. Entropy is a lack of order. Yes, nature does not like entropy. And so what happens is over time, entropy will disappear. We can see this from the smallest example. So you have dust around your place, and the dust will start to form into an ordered pile. We call these dust mites. If you have magnets around, they will start to attract to each other, and eventually the magnets will become a ball as well. People are the same way. People do not like disorder. People will eventually congregate into a single unit that is more civilized. This starts from the smallest end all the way to the biggest end. We can see large bodies, planets, universes will coalesce together and develop some sort of order. Given enough time, entropy will disappear into order. And this is what libertarians try to resist. They try to resist an overabundance of order. But because humanity and nature in general wants order, someone will eventually lead. Nature likes a hierarchy. And so if a libertarian is not willing to partake in this hierarchy, the hierarchy will still form, but it will form around them, just without them. And so if you are outside the order, societies will develop around you. Order will develop around you. And so we can see this throughout history where barbarians, tribes who did not want to be parts of society, they stuck to themselves, but society formed around them. And eventually, society becomes big enough that it will run over the barbarians. And this is what's happening. So libertarians say, do whatever the hell you want, just leave me out of it. And the socialists, the collectivists, the collectivos, whatever you want to call them, are forming society. They are forming a hierarchy, and they're getting big enough, and they are now running over the little guy. So the purpose of our government, our representative republic, was to have a constitution that would resist this hierarchy, that would resist the majority being able to crush the individual under the boot. That is the entire purpose of the original founding of the U.S. government. And over the course of several centuries, they have eradicated this constitution. We are a post-constitutional society at this point. The powers that be, the government, whether you want to call them Republicans, Democrats, or I like to call them the Uniparty, they do not care about the Constitution. They do not follow the Constitution. They break the Constitution constantly. And this is what has happened because the libertarians, such as myself, have stayed quiet. Now, I'm making a logical argument here. And logically, entropy will fade away, hierarchy will take control. But as we know, people don't listen to hierarchy. So let's try to make a more moral, emotional argument here. So the left likes to use the moral arguments. Like they still like to use the example of slavery of 150 years ago to crush people today. But when you talk about slavery outside of America, do they care? There are 2 million slaves today in Uyghur concentration camps in China. They don't care. They don't say a word about it. There are 750,000 slaves today in Africa. They don't even say a word about it. Instead, they want to talk about the $300,000 to $600,000 slaves that we had 150 years ago. Because they don't want to talk about the slavery of today. Because they're not talking about it, about morals. They don't have morals. They don't care about morals. They want to use it just as a cudgel to defeat their enemies because they have the organization of their hierarchy and they want to replace our order with their order. And we can see this, but you can say, China is not America. Africa is not America. We're talking about America. But they don't care about America. Their whole mantra is no nations, no borders. We should have open borders. Post-America, global society. They don't care about borders in the first place. So why the hell they want to limit this discussion to only within America? Even that doesn't make sense. So, okay, fine. Let's keep this within America. So let's do another moral argument. Let's talk about abortion. Now, I know I'm the same way where I can say I am against abortion. But, if the leftists want to kill their kids, I'm okay with that because I don't want them reproducing anyways, because they are the scum of society. And I can make that argument as a libertarian. Get your abortions. Just leave me out of it. But don't ask me to pay for it. Get your abortions, but I'm not going to pay for it. Don't ask for universal health care. Again, you can make that argument as a libertarian. We can talk about a peaceful divorce where my state is going to ban abortions. Your state isn't. And if we have an issue here, I can live in a state that has no abortion and you can live in a state that has abortion. But there's something you're forgetting here. We're not talking about rights of me or rights of you. We're talking about rights of the child, and the child comes first. And while I can say I can be a libertarian and be in a place that has no abortions and you can have your abortions elsewhere, you're forgetting that 600,000 children are still dead. I don't know what the number is at this point, but I think up to 1 million kids are killed every year because of abortion. And while I can be libertarian, there are still 1 million corpses this year. And are you going to allow that argument to exist simply because you want to be libertarian about it? This is my point. If you can have your moral arguments, you can have your logical arguments, but when it comes down to it, peaceful divorce is not possible. Because when you have peaceful divorce, there are still corpses on the line. There are still children's lives on the line. And I'm just talking about abortion here. There are still slaves on the line with this peaceful divorce. Peaceful divorce is not possible because when it comes down to it, in peaceful divorce, you are ignoring the people that matter. You're just using these kids, you're still using these slaves as a tool to win your political argument, but you are ignoring the moral argument. And this is my point. Libertarianism is a political ideology. Socialism, the left, this is a political ideology. And when you stick to either one of them, you are forgetting the moral arguments. And so I am a libertarian, but I understand that order is necessary. Christianity, Judaism, hell, even Islam, some sort of religion, some sort of moral foundation is necessary to keep society from delving into a place where morality is completely destroyed. If you want morality, you need a moral basis. And politics does not have a moral basis. You need to use religious ideologies, even though I am libertarian, even though I am atheist, but you need those liberal moral basis to protect the rights of individuals. And so if you're not doing that, if you want to be a straight up libertarian, then people are dying on your watch. Then you are doing the work of the socialists. You are doing the work of the communists. And before you know it, your liberal utopia, your libertarian utopia will be gone, crushed under the boot of the collectivos. And you have to remember, all rights are individual rights. All rights stem from property rights. And the most important property right of all is, do you own the property of self? Peace out, guys. I'll see you next time.